Good evening, and welcome to this political forum tonight for the two candidates for Treasurer-Collector. My name is Charles Mathewson of WATD FM. We're coming to you from the studios of the Carver Community Access Television. We have an incumbent treasurer, John Jack Franey. He has an MS in taxation, a CPA license. He's been treasurer-collector since 2007. He's married with 2 daughters. He served on 4 town boards previous to this. He's currently also a selectman. He's challenged by Paula Newt, the assistant tax collector for the last 9 years. She's married with 2 children and has certification as a Massachusetts collector. We're going to give each candidate an opportunity for to introduce themselves. And what was the order we determined? Yes, Paula goes first. And in the closing statements, Jack will go first. Paula?
First of all, I want to say thank you very much to CCAT and WATD for inviting me to this debate. My work experience, as Charlie has said, that I have over 9 years in assistant tax collection with almost 6 years of doing the assistant treasurer's job. My past work experience is 17 years in banking, financial banking, with 14 years of managerial positions. Before coming to the banking world, I did go to cosmetology school, and I was a cosmetologist for 3 years. The reason why I say this is because there have been quotes on fixcarver.com stating that I don't have any experience except for being a hairdresser. So that is not true. And that my opponent has his CPA degree. Being a treasurer-collector, holding that position does not require you to have a degree. It does require someone that is very strong and organized and has the knowledge of the day-to-day operations of the department, and also how it impacts the other departments. The position also requires a willingness to learn the position and to hold oneself accountable to all of the town of Carver departments, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and to you, the citizens of Carver. I bring to you my Massachusetts Collector certification, and I am working on my Massachusetts Treasurer certification. I have strong financial, managerial, organizational, and interpersonal skills. Most importantly, my practical experience as your assistant tax collector for the past 9 years. I know Carver, I know what needs to be done and when, and I know that I can resolve the problems that arise. My priorities are to be an efficient tax collector and to run that department efficiently and effectively. And my responsibilities are, as a treasurer-collector, to be held accountable and a positive reflection on the town of Carver. Thank you.
Jack?
Good evening. I'd like to thank Carver Community Access Television and WATD for the opportunity to participate in this debate. I'm Jack Franey. I am the treasurer tax collector, and I'm a candidate for re-election. I've lived in Carver for 28 years with my wife Terry, where we raised our twin daughters, Carrie and Christy, who went through the Carver school system. I served on the Finance Committee 3 terms. By way of education and work experience, I have the most in-depth knowledge of the complexities of municipal finances. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration. It's from Stonehill College. I've earned a master's degree in taxation from Bentley College. I'm a certified public accountant with 39 years experience in tax planning, municipal finance, and business management. I am also a certified Massachusetts municipal treasurer. The DOR financial management report calls for an appointed treasurer-collector with a minimum skill set of a bachelor's degree. My opponent, lacking this minimum standard, would not be eligible to apply for this position. I've spent my career helping people manage their finances and minimize their taxes. As treasurer-collector, I have saved your tax dollars through application of my education and experience. During the past 6 years in office, I have implemented cash receipts and reconciliation reporting systems, upgraded the bond rating to Standard & Poor AA- in the worst economic recession of our lifetime, increased cash flow through conversion to quarterly tax billing system, simplified our tax bill to include the payment required to qualify for the 3% discount program, eliminating taxpayer uncertainty and guesswork. For my third term, my plans are work on a plan to finance the school renovation project through the Building Stabilization Fund and build a new fire station through management of State House notes and bonds expiring in 2017. I would like to continue serving as your treasurer tax collector to complete the work I have started and ask for your vote on Saturday, April 27th. I'm John K. Franey, treasurer tax collector.
Okay, let's get going. Jack, you mentioned the AA- bond rating. When Standard & Poor's gave the town its bond rating, it noted declining reserves mitigate the town's financial strengths. Declining reserves, stabilization fund, et cetera. What should be done?
That was a problem from the late 1990s to early 2000s, where town meeting kept taking money out of it. We had $3.5 million in the stabilization fund. They kept taking that money out of there, okay? We need to start to build the reserves back up again. But equally more important from building the reserves up is our unfunded liabilities and pension and the health insurance plan. That's growing astronomically.
Paula, what should be done about the reserves?
It's a good question. I really don't have an answer for that, and I am truly sorry for that, but I would be able to get an answer for that if elected.
Okay. This is the aforementioned Department of Revenue Division of Local Services report issued in October of 2011. And the very first of 22 recommendations is to change this position, treasurer collector, from an elected post to an appointed finance director. Paula, would you support that?
I don't think it actually said that it needs to be a finance director. I do know that that is what Jack Franey has mentioned in the past that he would like to see happen. I do believe that it stated that they would like it to be an appointed position. My opponent has said that I would need to have my bachelor's degree to apply for that, but if it is an appointed position and I'm doing the position as it is, if I'm elected and for the next 3 years, I would hope that the town administrator and others would see that I'm doing the job very well as I do now and appoint me to that position.
I just looked at the report and you're right, it does just say appointed position.
Correct.
In most cases, that is a finance director.
And I have met with very many treasurer collectors in the past through schooling, and not very many of them are financial directors.
Okay. Jack, do you support an appointed?
Oh, absolutely. And I'd like to point out that I'm the one that lobbied and pushed the town to have this report done. I wanted to shine a light on what's been happening in my office. Okay, so the town administrator and I have different opinions. He wants to have a finance director, town accountant. I want to have a finance director, treasurer, and to take tax collector's position, make it what's known as a town collector, where you do all the tax collecting, but you do part of the treasurer's. I've looked up in MMA, I looked up, there's 3 positions advertised for treasurer collectors, Mass Municipal Association. City of Lawrence, qualifications at least 5 years prior job experience, 3 in a supervisory capacity with a minimum of a bachelor's degree in finance. Town of Raynham, requirements, bachelor's degree in finance, public administration, or related field. Town of Dedham, same thing. Bachelor's requirements, bachelor's degree in finance, public administration, and related field. So most treasurer collectors that are appointed, you're going to find that they're going to require that you have a bachelor's degree. But I want to go one step further and make sure that if we're going to have this appointed position, I want to have a charter in place in our town that will lay out the duties and responsibilities, not just of the treasurer collector, but of all the positions in town.
How would you make that happen?
You'd form a charter committee, and you get a lot of resources from the Department of Revenue, and you can kind of look at other towns and what they have. But what you want to do is you want to protect all town employees that are in appointed positions, that they're able to do their jobs without political interference. And unfortunately, I've seen some instances of that happen in our town. So I would like to protect all the town employees.
I guess to both of you, if the decision is to go to an appointed position, I know the process of Charter Commission. I've lived through that several times now in the town of Plymouth. But how do you get the political impetus going to? Paula, any ideas?
I don't know. I don't know. I would like to state, though, that if it is a requirement that I have a bachelor's degree in this field, that I am more than willing to go to school for this.
Jack?
The way that you would get it started would be to put an article on town meeting and let them vote up or down. If they approve the article, you would put in the article, you know, the various memberships from the maybe school committee, board of selectmen, finance committee, and people at large, and, you know, charge them with a certain mission that they should have to accomplish.
Okay, let's get to another issue. I sometimes cover the town of Kingston. The chairman of selectmen there, a couple of years ago, signed turbine contracts to erect wind turbines in town. Now neighbors of those turbines want the Board of Health to shut them down. The difficulty is when the Health Board chairman refused to hire an independent counsel, neighbors charged him with a conflict because the chairman of the Board of Health and the chairman of selectmen are the same person. How would you, Jack, to you, how would you handle a conflict as treasurer collector and selectman? And to Paula, do you see such a conflict now or potentially in the future?
You know, I've been advised by the Ethics Commission that I can't sign the payroll or the vendor warrants unless it's absolutely necessary, unless it's a, I forget what the term is, but you have a majority. But it's kind of interesting that you mentioned about the wind turbines over there, because we're going through a similar problem over here on Purchase Street and Great Meadow Drive, where the planning board gave permission to a solar company to take all the trees down in the back of residences. And it comes really right up to people's property lines. So, you know, I've been acting on that as a member of the Board of Selectmen. And I don't see a conflict there between being a treasurer and the selectman, but it's unnecessary what happens to these people. I don't think the town should be impacting people's lives that greatly.
Well, I know you got the ruling from the State Ethics Committee.
Yes.
The same report, one of the 22 recommendations, is for the town to adopt a bylaw prohibiting someone from holding two elected offices, such as selectman and
Yes.
treasurer collector.
And I agree with that. That's why I want to have the charter commission. That can be incorporated in the charter commission. There's a lot that most towns have a charter. We don't. We just have, I think the DOR report says, a collection of bylaws and statutes and policies, and they really all need to be organized and put in a document that we can all adhere to. And I agree with that, you know, people shouldn't be serving on the Board of Selectmen.
But you are.
But I am, because we had Sarah Hewen serving on the Board of Selectmen, and it was not a problem. We had Mike O'Donnell serving on the Board of Selectmen, it wasn't a problem. And then I got on the Board of Selectmen, and all hell broke loose. And I think it's primarily because of my deep financial background in municipal finance. I can see exactly what's going on, whereas maybe other people, I don't think they can see as clearly as I can see.
Okay, Paula, do you think that there's a conflict here between being a selectman and treasurer collector at the same time?
Absolutely, absolutely. I don't believe that those two, that anyone that holds a full-time job for the town of Carver should be a selectman also. I do believe that it creates a conflict, especially when things need to be decided upon as signing checks. Can't even think at this moment. You're laughing, I know. I do feel it is a conflict, and it needs to stop. And I'm glad that that will be on the ballot, that you cannot do both. And I'm hoping that the town of Carver will vote that you cannot have both positions.
Well, it's not going to be on the ballot.
I mean, on the town floor.
Yeah, town meeting.
Yep, yep.
And the big difference between me and Sarah Hewens and Mike O'Donnell is that they're appointed and I'm elected.
Right.
And I don't feel that there's really that much of a conflict because I'm elected. People can decide not to elect me.
I would like to make one other comment, is that in the office, Jack likes to look at all the bills to make sure that nothing is getting paid erroneously. We did have an incident where Jack was not around, and the AP warrant for the snowplow checks we were not able to give them out. That did cause a lot of pain to those snowplow people.
Well, you need to have 3 signatures, and we didn't have the 3 signatures. And that's why when, you know, the state law says you need a majority of the Board of Selectmen and the town accountant to sign the warrant. And we didn't have those 3 signatures. And you know, I think I handled it very appropriately. I happened to be at a training. One of the snowplow operators, who happens to be related to the superintendent of the streets, actually confronted me down there, and there was a police officer on duty. He came out to make sure there was no problems. But sometimes you have to stand your ground. And if one of the selectmen had decided that they wanted to hold up any of those bills and we had released them, you know, you'd be breaking the law. You got to follow the law.
And I agree, and I agree to that. But those were snowplow checks that should have been released.
But you didn't have the 3 signatures now to be able to do it. You can't release any check until you have the majority of the Board of Selectmen signing it.
Sign the warrant.
Yes.
That's correct. And had you not been one of the selectmen, though, we would have had another selectman on board that would probably had signed off on it.
Well, the 3rd selectman came in and signed it.
After the fact, that was 2 incidents.
We had never had a problem like that before, so.
Correct. That is correct. But there was this particular winter, we did have those problems 2 times.
Well, I only know about it for 1 time, so. Just the time that I was confronted and, you know, virtually threatened by one of these individuals, but I don't take that too seriously. I just, you know, figure it's the emotion. I know these guys are going through tough times, but I got to do my job. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be responsible to the citizens of this town.
I think we may have all read Fix Carver Now. When I've mentioned to people that the 2 people running for treasurer collector in Carver are the current treasurer collector and the assistant treasurer collector, the responses is uniform. Oh, that must be a great place to work. But I have caught the two of you like laughing, and you seem to get along okay. Or is that?
We do.
Yeah.
I feel we do. We
Yeah.
have a good relationship.
Yep.
There's a lot of things that Jack, for his work ethics, I don't agree with, and those are the things that I don't plan on doing myself if I am elected as the treasurer-collector. I just feel more, I guess, I need to be at that office all the time, and I think that any treasurer-collector has to be at the office during business hours. During business hours, you are.
Yep.
You
And
are there.
sometimes I think I work more hours than any department head in the town of Carver, in the town hall. You know, I'm in there morning, noon, and night. The first 3 years I worked there, I think I worked every weekend, every holiday, just to get caught up on the system that they put in place. And after that, I figured, you know, I can't really keep up with this. You know, I need to keep my wife for 40 years, you know, and I need to keep my health. And I think I've demonstrated to the people of Carver that I have a strong work ethic, and I've been there.
Paula, you're grinning.
I am grinning big time because I am in the office and I know that that is not the truth. You have the same work ethics that Stephen Romano, the former treasurer-collector, had. He was a very good treasurer-collector, but in order to find him in the office on any given day, you had to make sure that he was in, and that's the same with you.
I may become, you know, and let me explain to you, an elected position doesn't have any set hours.
That's correct.
But
that is correct.
Most often I'm there at 8:30 or 9 o'clock, and sometimes I'm there till 6 or 7 o'clock. Sometimes I might have to leave for something, but I make sure that I cover my hours, even though I don't have any set hours. I think I've demonstrated that to a lot of people. You know, so I found a little bit offensive that you're saying something like that.
I know.
And you remember that, you know, I don't have an assistant treasurer, although Paul is nice enough to make the deposits for me. But I've never had a 1-week vacation. I'd take a day here and a day there, and if Paul is not there to make the deposit for me, if I take the day off, I have to go in and make the deposit.
And I do much more than just make the deposit. I am doing a lot of the reconciliation of the accounts.
Not all of them, though, but...
no, the 3 accounts that are in major need of reconciliation since July of last year are still needing your attention.
Because I need to meet with the town accountant, and we're without a town accountant.
He's only been gone for 20 weeks.
Yeah, but I still need to... And not only that, is we moved into a Zobrio system, and all of these these reconciliations weren't done properly. So I had to back all the way into them and solve them. And I solved them for Zobrio. They didn't even know how to solve them themselves.
In January, we had a CPA firm come into our office and get Jack caught up on his reconciliation that he had not done for many years.
No, many months, not years.
Well, you can say...
It came from July.
Okay. But we paid a CPA firm to get him caught up, which he is a CPA. They got him caught up to February 1st when we went on to the new Zobrio system, which we paid $7,000 for the CPA firm to come in. We also paid $3,000 for this new Zobrio system, the treasurer's cash book, excuse me, which you're behind on still, on the reconciliation and putting in the receipts.
No,
I don't understand why it is that you have asked for this. You've asked for a treasurer, an assistant treasurer for 5 years now.
That's right.
That's correct, right. Yet everything is behind.
Because, I mean, let me read...
Because you don't have an assistant treasurer.
Let me read the audit report for 6/30/2003. We noted reporting of cash receipts through the financial management system was not being completed on a timely basis. The Treasurer Collector's Office has been plagued with these types of problems all the way back to the early 1990s. And what did the town administrator do in response to that? He cut the full-time position of assistant treasurer out of there. And since I've been there, I've asked to restore it only on a half-time basis.
But that would
Yeah.
cost $50,000 with benefits.
No, it wouldn't. An assistant treasurer?
An assistant treasurer on a part-time basis.
Yes. Cost maybe $15,000 a year.
No,
You're making, what are you making, 40,000? You're not going to have an assistant treasurer making 20,000 more than you.
Of course not.
Yeah, so what do you
course
say,
not.
$60,000
With all the
for?
benefits.
No, it's going to be a 19-hour-a-week position. There's no benefits with it.
Okay.
So,
And-
and you know, I mean, back on the Zobrio system, when this company came in,
We
when this
should back
company
up and
came
say,
in,
and give a brief explanation
yeah,
of what.
the Zobrio system was to do it on, it was a web-based system. And they added some new features into it. But when they came in to do the Zobrio system, when I was first elected, they came in and they disabled the electronic cash book and installed a cash book system using Excel spreadsheets. It was like doing a manual system.
That is
And it
correct.
took, you put the receipts in, and then you have to put it in there. Whereas if you had the electronic cash book system in place, when you put the receipts in, it would electronically post it into the cash book. So you had to do double duty. And
Would-
there was virtually no way to catch up with something like that.
Which we have now. And yet you're 8 weeks behind.
That's right, because I need the assistant position in there, the assistant treasurer position.
So that she or he could do that job.
That's what they're supposed to do. That's what the assistant treasurer position is supposed to do.
Well, the
Maintain
same-
the cash books and the reconciliations, make the
Which I
deposits.
do. Which I do the reconciliation. There are,
But you do the reconciliations on a lot of the accounts other than the payroll account, the vendor account, and another account
which
that's in
are
there.
8 months
And
behind.
they're difficult to do, and I've been straightening out the problems in there.
Okay, well,
The
Get them
same
straightened
report
out.
in October of 2011 referred to, criticized the record keeping in the Carver Treasurer Collector's office. Is this what you're talking about, Paul?
Exactly.
exactly. This is exactly
Yeah.
what I'm talking about. And that was in 2011. We're now in 2013. And if they were to come in, they would have that
The
same,
same thing.
complaint.
And the auditor would have the same thing. And
That
that's
is
what I've been
correct. And
asking
for 5 years,
is
the
for this
auditor has been
position,
saying
you
the
get
same
back
thing.
in there and do the work that should be done under that position.
So why was it so easy for, or not easy, but why was Stephen Romano able to do the job? He was behind.
He was behind.
There has been times that you have been more than 12 weeks behind.
Well, let me read another thing here. This is when I first came in. This is the auditor that came in to install the system. And this was in their quote. It was dated September 24, 2007. They're going to examine the treasurer's cash book from September 1st, 2006 through March 31st, 2007, because that wasn't done. Examine town-prepared bank reconciliations and reconciliation lines for the period September 2006. So he was behind, and I'm not trying to criticize Steve Romano. He had the same problem I had. So he was behind.
But he was never there.
He was there. You didn't see him there. When I'd be in there at nighttime for meetings and stuff, I'd see Steve Romano working every night.
Okay.
Maybe he didn't come in during the daytime,
Like
but
you.
he put in his hours. I come in during the daytime. You're wrong there.
Oh,
You know?
I can say that you put in approximately 18 hours a week.
Oh no, you're absolutely wrong. You're wrong. I come in there every day and put the hours in.
Okay. Okay. Well, then you're doing it after hours,
I'm not
which
doing it
is,
after
is
hours.
when the people of Carver need to see you. They need to talk to you.
And I'm in there by 8:30 and 9 o'clock every day.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Jack. I'm
Yep,
sorry. I'm
yeah.
sorry.
You're wrong.
Okay, I am sorry
Yep.
that we're going through this because yes, we do have a good working relationship.
Yes.
But as I said in the very beginning, there are just work ethics that I don't agree with
No.
on Jack. With
No.
Jack, and that's why I do
I
want to
come in-
see an appointed
You can ask
position.
my wife. She's,
Of course, your wife is
Speaking
gonna.
of your wife, you are each married to
Yes.
different people, but you're not behaving that way right now.
No.
It's more like the kitchen table in any married person's house.
Well, how would you like to be something and have a person that was a subordinate be able to run against you in a political forum, and she's really not qualified to hold a position,
What qualifications do you need, Jack?
You need the minimum standards of a bachelor's degree, and that's what they require in all these
okay,
positions.
if that is the case, then
Yes.
why have you voted in people that have not had that minimum standard? And then nowhere,
When has it been voted in?
nowhere is there in the
Steve
statutory.
Romano had a bachelor's degree in accounting. He was before me.
And Alan Dunham didn't.
Well, the standards have changed. The things have become more complex. You know that.
I understand that, but nowhere in the statutory does it say that you have to have a bachelor's degree.
But if you look at the positions that are being advertised now, they want a minimum of a bachelor's degree.
The three that you,
Yeah.
the three that you saw.
If you look over for the past several years, you'll find the same thing. You won't find too many that say you don't need an education.
Well,
That's what they're pushing for. Most people are educated nowadays.
That is so true, and I
Yeah.
am sorry that I am not. I did not have that opportunity. I've been working since I've been 14 years of age because my mother and father needed me to work. I am truly sorry
And
that I did not have the opportunity to go to college.
Well, I went to school at nighttime. I went 7 years nights for my undergraduate, and 5 years nights for my master's degree. So I didn't have the opportunity to go either, but I made the opportunity, even with children and stuff.
Okay,
because you had an at-home mother, at-home wife.
back to the financial management review. 18 months, 22 recommendations. There's been an attempt to get an audit committee established. It hasn't been all that successful.
No, it hasn't.
And I know that selectmen and the town administrator are primarily responsible for implementing these 22 recommendations, but it seems that the treasurer collector could implement some of them. So what has happened in 18 months to the 22 recommendations?
And what recommendations are you referring to?
Well, the whole back half of this that begins with appoint treasurer collector, adopt bylaw limiting eligibility for Board of Selectmen, through to explore shared network drive, which may have solved some of the problems you were talking about earlier.
Probably on the last one that you want to look at is in here, study consolidation opportunities.
Yes.
I serve on the Plymouth County Charter Review Committee, and I've been promoting regionalization of services within our town since I got on there a couple of years ago. And this is one of the principal concepts here. I even spoke to the county treasurer about potentially doing some of our a deputy tax collector work through them. You know, and maybe they could perform that service for the whole county. And then if we did something like that, maybe they could split the fees somehow with us. So the town could save some money and they could make some money and they could render a better service.
Yeah, we've each been at those county meetings, and
Yes.
Tom O'Brien, the county treasurer, wants to regionalize assessing. And if you can regionalize assessing, maybe you can regionalize other financial management.
Exactly. I don't think he really wants to regionalize assessment. He wants to regionalize the evaluators that come in.
Right.
And, you know,
It's not the whole assessing process,
not the
just
whole
the
assessment process.
revaluation.
Although there's some counties out in western Massachusetts, the towns are so small that they do all the services for them.
Are either of you impatient that 18 months have gone by and so little has been done on the 22 recommendations? Paula, you're
I am,
shaking,
yes.
nodding your head?
I am. I'm very concerned for the town of Carver for that exact reason, that a lot of these recommendations have not been implemented, and they need to be.
And I agree with that, but I've said I need that additional help in the office to do that work. And a lot of these recommendations don't even pertain to this.
Right.
You know,
I said it's primarily
here's
the
one
job
here.
of selectmen and the town administrator, but
And-
some of it falls to the treasurer collector.
and here's one here, item 6, continue moving outstanding taxes in the tax title. And you know I've been on you to catch up on that and get that done, and we're, 2 years behind in that, so.
No, sir.
Yes.
No, they are not. And first of all,
When's the last year you
okay,
did?
first of all,
2010?
whose job responsibility is that?
That comes under you,
Oh, it does?
yes.
And if I'm not doing it, could you
should-
do it? Could you do it?
I could probably do it,
Oh, you could.
yes, I could.
Good for you. I'd like you to try doing that? Could you
No,
even
well,
get an inquiry? Could you get
I'm
an
the
inquiry
treasurer
out
tax
of,
collector, and I assign you the work to do.
Okay.
And that's what you should be doing. It's
And-
nice that you're able to sit here and run an office against me, but you know.
Okay, well, I
I run the
am,
office, and I use the resources within our office to the best of my ability and implement them and have them being done within the office.
Okay, in the 9 years that I've been there, I have done every tax title myself. Tax title.
Because that's your job.
Because that's my job. I am
Exactly.
at 2011, on May 5th, 2011, if 12 of the people do not pay, 12 of the property owners do not pay their real estate taxes, you will stand out in the hallway and say, I, the treasurer collector of the town of Carver, take these properties for non-payment of taxes. That's what you will do.
Exactly.
That is the extent of the job that you have to
Because
do.
your job is to do that.
Could you get a
Yeah.
tax title inquiry for anyone if they were to
Yes.
call? Oh, you could?
Yeah.
Okay, that's why when someone needed one, I was on vacation or I was out that day, Ann had to call me and ask me, excuse me, could you tell me how to get a tax title inquiry because Jack doesn't know how.
Oh, exactly. Right. Right.
Okay, let's
I'm
get back
sorry.
to the
And,
county.
bear in mind
Well,
that
I can see how this forum is
Yeah,
is going. Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
sorry.
Yeah.
And you say it's not a contentious work environment. I think I'm going to have to come by and.
It really is not up to this point,
Yeah.
and it's a lot to do with the fact that this is the first time that he is probably hearing a lot about this because he believes he is doing his job to his best, which if you ask a lot of the people in town, they will tell you, no, Jack, that is
a
not
lot of
the
the people
case.
in town, what people? You mean in town hall, right?
No, I'm
Yeah.
not talking about
Yeah.
just town hall.
Okay, let's get back to the county
Yeah.
for a moment. Jack, I've seen you at the charter meetings trying to get a charter for the oldest county in the country. But Hingham residents have begun a discussion about withdrawing from Plymouth County government. And I think I have an idea of what you would say, Jack, so I'll ask you first, Paula. Is county government still viable, or should the state just take over all those functions?
Oh, no, I don't believe they should take over those functions. No, I believe that you need to have your county government to perform the jobs that need to be done through the counties because the state has enough to do as it is right now. For them to take that on, I don't think that we would be in a good financial position.
The people in Hingham have said, what does the county do? The jail is now run by the state. The courts, the buildings are owned by the county, but the courts themselves are run by the state. You really have the county retirement board and the registry of deeds left as county government.
Well, years ago, they used to perform a lot of services. They still run the courthouses. And by the way, the courthouses that they're running, the rent that they receive from the state is only about 75% of, or maybe even 2/3 of what the real costs are. So that's a burden on the rest of the taxpayers in the county, because we pay a county assessment of about $20,000 a year. It goes up 2.5% every year. They used to have the Group Insurance Commission, the Group Insurance Fund, but that's run by the Mayflower Group. That broke away from it, in the county retirement. But they want to get more into performance services that would be more economical for the cities and towns to do. I don't know what the Hingham Group is and get out of there, but I do know the representative up there served on a subcommittee. I was chairman of the subcommittee, Council of Governments it was called. And that's what I really wanted to see, was the county divided into thirds. Down where our area would be primarily cranberry growers and stuff, because that's where most of the farming is done in the southern end of Plymouth County. And have a lot of the regional planning agencies have a role in that, and have the county be an umbrella to it. But that, my idea got voted down by the rest of the charter commissioners, so.
Yeah.
But we've advanced legislation and put it into into the legislature. The county commissioners have put their own legislation in to get more of a cut of the deeds excise tax, because the bulk of it goes to the state, and it's our residents that are paying that tax, so it should stay in our county.
That's right.
Okay,
I
to
agree.
get to a core issue in any re-election campaign, and I asked the selectmen same two questions, the selectmen candidates same two questions. Jack, the key thing you need to answer to voters is why do you deserve re-election?
Because I've improved the bond rating, and I look out for the taxes for the citizens of the town. Being an elected position, I have such an example here I can show you. I attended a meeting where they were going to put solar panels on the Ravenbrook landfill. And it had been in a committee made up of the town administrator, the town assessor, the town accountant, and the town planner. And what they had proposed to do was, the Ravenbrook landfill is a Superfund site, and we were owed $238,342 in back taxes. They had proposed reducing that by $50,000 and giving them a 5-year no-interest loan to pay it back to the town. Well, that's not permissible under the law. When I went there and had this thing handed out, no one said anything except for me. I told them that they couldn't do that. And what happened was, instead of collecting $187,885, I signed a 5-year agreement with them, and they're going to pay back $358,700, a savings of $170,000. That's what I do. I have the ability to look at situations and make sure that we're saving these types of tax dollars and they're not being squandered by appointed town officials. I blew the whistle on something that was happening down at the Council on Aging, because I was concerned the money that was being collected by the Council on Aging wasn't being deposited into an account where you reimburse the state for the buses and stuff that they provide. And also, the money's being collected for the Meals on Wheels and the congregate meals wasn't also being deposited. It was being deposited in someone else's account at Mutual Bank. And I was able to change that. We could have lost our grant. Those buses, we get about $10,000 a month in there to pay for the drivers, the gas, and the buses. And if we didn't adhere to that, we could have jeopardized receiving that grant. So I was able to save taxpayer dollars in that regard. And there's other instances as well.
Okay, Paula, the flip side of that question, you've never held elected office. If I were a Carver voter, I vote in Plymouth. Why should I give you my vote?
Because I'm already doing the job. I'm doing a good portion of it. I don't claim to know everything on the treasurer side of the position, but I do know a lot of the collector side. And I am more than capable of helping people with the collections of their taxes. In the past 9 years, I do it single-handedly. I have collected $1.9 million worth of back taxes on tax title that has nothing to do with delinquent personal property or excise motor vehicle taxes.
Because that's what your job is to do. You're supposed to do, that would be like me claim $17 million a year. And you don't do my job. You're doing, the bulk of the job that you're doing is the assistant treasurer's job. We're both doing that because there's a gap there.
But
you don't really do my job. You've been telling people you're doing my job. You're not doing my job. You don't do the disclosures. You don't do the reports for the cash to the state like I do. You don't do the
when
the
they're
bond
on
thing.
time.
You don't
when
do
you do those on time.
I do those.
Yeah.
Those are all done on time.
Okay, I was going to ask each of you to ask a question of one another, but I think we're going to skip over that. I think it's time for closing remarks. So, Jack?
Education and experience matters. Carver needs a full-time, fully qualified treasurer collector to ensure maximum utilization of every tax dollar. As a certified public accountant, I have the education, independence, and work ethic you need in the Treasurer Collector's office. I earned the trust and respect of Carver voters during the past 6 years as your Treasurer Collector, working diligently to improve the operation of an understaffed office. The Treasurer Collector's office has been plagued with problems dating to the early 1990s. Audit reports from 2003 highlight the problems I inherited. Some of these problems persist today because irresponsible people prefer to play political gotcha with your tax dollars. Those who stood in the way of providing the manpower I requested to solve these problems are the same people casting stones at me today. Audit reports are intended for nonpartisan use to address root causes of problems. The misuse of these reports as political weapons to push agendas is appalling. One of the recommendations in the state's report is moving to an appointed Treasurer Collector. Using the DOR's independent standards of education and work experience, my opponent could not even be considered as an applicant for the job. Unfortunately, that has not prevented unscrupulous politicians from exploiting a management tool for political benefit. You can trust me because I have the honesty, experience, and education to manage your money. Don't place your money in the hands of someone who does not meet the minimum standards. I would like to continue serving as your Treasurer Tax Collector to complete the work I have started and ask for your vote on Saturday, April 27th. I'm John K. Franey, Treasurer Collector.
Paula, closing statement.
In today's tough economy demands, all town departments are to run efficiently and without wastes. As the next Treasurer Collector, I can do that. I will also not take the 2% increase that Jack Franny has asked for on his budget, in his budget for 2014, and I do not need an assistant treasurer to perform the job that needs to be done. What does need to happen is the position of the assistant tax collector should be upgraded to a / assistant treasurer, probably in the amount of, I don't know, $10,000 more. I actually haven't looked into it, but that would be sufficient because I'm able to do the job that Jack Franny is saying he needs help with. Please elect me, Paula Newt, on April 27th as your next Treasurer Collector. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for joining us this evening. And don't forget, please, if you don't vote, you don't have a voice. Polls open Saturday, April 27th at 8 a.m. and close at 6 p.m. For 95.9 WATD FM, I'm Charles Mathewson. Good night.
It's all based on what we just did.
The iron ore was used to make cannons and cannonballs for the Revolutionary War. Here in Carver.
Red Sox. All right, let's continue with more. Let's go to one of those interviews here from Al Lang Stadium.
You
breeds that are out there now have a capacity to do all sorts of things that you wouldn't have imagined.